Business meeting with the Board of County Commissioners. Today's date is December 19, 2023. The time is 2 p.m. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks and Matari with Commissioner Duncan on the telephone. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we will begin with a moment of silence. Okay, let's go ahead and the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. JP, could you get us started, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
Are we gonna?
Yes.
Item 23.
Yeah, we'll pull that. And then item 28, there's just a clarification that this actually will be a contract, but it is for the cold fluid applied thickness test. And then item 30, I don't know if we've decided if that's going to be a public hearing or if it's not required at this point. So I believe that legally it may not be required. I'm just not sure if it was published as one or not, so we could ask if there's anybody here to speak on that item.
I spoke to Dave Ferguson, and he said statute did not require a public hearing, so we did not publish it as one.
Did you catch that,
Perfect.
Commissioner Duncan? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove item 23. Do we need a motion for that?
No.
Okay. All right. So I'll take a motion on the. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Public comment. Would anyone like to speak? Nope. Okay. Meeting minutes. I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes, items 1 through 6.
I second the
Second.
motion. Oh, okay.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Consent calendar.
I move that we approve.
I move.
Go ahead.
I can make them too if you want. Okay, I move we approve items 7 and 8.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
And payables. Do you want to do that? You want me to do that, Leslie?
I can do it. I move that we approve the payables for December 11th through the 15th, 2023, in the amount of $1,504,831.27. There are no jury panel payments.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, next up are the business items. Number 10, bid opening. Bid number 2023-07, Landfill East Cell Phase E3, solid waste. And you want to give me the bids there? Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Let's see what we've got here.
And I believe item 5.4.3 is the only number we need for the record besides the submission.
Yes, and we have that. So this bid is Kootenai County Farm Landfill Cell E3. All right. Bid recipient.
It may be on the outside of the envelope.
Yeah. Selland Construction in Wenatchee, Washington. Okay. And 5.4. And their base bid is $5,878,400.
And that is that line, 5.
That is 5.4.3 base bid. You didn't need anything else on that, did you?
No.
No. Next is from Scarcella Contractors in Seattle, Washington. It's a PO box. And 5.4.3 base bid, $7,344,344 even. And the last one is from Swaggart Brothers, Inc. in Hermiston, Oregon. Base bid 5.4.3, $6,807,000. Looks to be $525 even. All right, so those are the bids for phase landfill E-cell phase E3, and I'll take a motion to acknowledge receipt and send to legal and solid waste for review.
I move that we accept these,
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge.
pardon?
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge receipt of these bids and forward them to legal for review
And solid
And
waste.
solid waste.
and solid waste.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next up is item 11, bid opening, bid number 2023-08, a wheel loader, solid waste. This is from, would it be Pape Machinery? Okay, and it looks like the purchase price that they have here is $346,000. That's the dollar amount you're looking for, I believe.
And that's under line B.
B, yep, purchase price.
Yes. Thank you.
The other is from Western States Equipment in Hayden, Idaho. Line B, purchase price, $321,327.62.
Thank you.
And that is it for bids. I'll take a motion to acknowledge receipt of the bid and send to legal and solid waste for review.
I move that we acknowledge the receipt of the two bids and forward to legal and solid waste for responsiveness.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Item 12, bid opening for number 2023-09, transfer trailers, solid waste. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, it looks like we have just one bid. Wilkins Industry, Inc. And line B, purchase price. I believe you're ordering two
Yes.
trailers. They're at $136,710 each for a total bid of $273,420.
Okay, I may ask.
Was there transfer trailers for both sites? Is there one more line to read
on that bid?
There should be two.
There may be another line.
Okay. Okay, and the first one is for 2 triple axle 48-foot transfer trailers.
Okay.
The next is for 2 tandem axle 40-foot transfer trailers. And that bid is $123,263 for each, times 2, for a total amount of $246,526. There we go.
That's good, thank you. That was a
All right.
curveball on that one.
Thank you for the clarification there. Okay, I will take a motion to acknowledge receipt of the bid and send to legal and solid waste for review.
I move that we acknowledge receipt of the bids 2023-09 for transfer trailers and forward to solid waste and legal for review.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next up, item 13, Second Amendment, HHW Collection Contract, Veolia, North America, and Solid Waste.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Phillips for the record. The Solid Waste Department operates 2 household hazardous collection facilities, one at each of our transfer stations. Operation of these facilities helps minimize the amount of chemicals going into our landfill. Environmental technicians separate disposed items into various hazardous categories and then package the materials by placing them into the appropriate drums or shipping container. So this amendment to an existing agreement with Veolia Services is for an extension to the existing transportation, recycling, treatment, and disposal contract of this household hazardous waste. The term of this new amendment, if approved, would change to a lengthened period from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2025. The Solid Waste Department requests that you approve and sign this non-exclusive agreement with Veolia Technical Services. The
Okay.
department does have the funds to cover this, and legal did put together this amendment.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the Second Amendment for the household hazardous waste collection contract with Veolia North America.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Could I have your agenda?
Motion is approved. On to the next item, number 14. Letter of Agreement for Recreation Improvement Funding, Avista Contract R-44989 with the Avista Corporation, Parks and Waterways. And do we have Nick Snyder on the telephone?
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Nick Snyder for the record. Before you is a letter of agreement with Avista Utilities, which will provide funding to replace our dock and piling system at Turner Point Boat Launch. The agreement also provides some funding for debris removal as well as navigational aids, and the total amount of the funding is $54,000. Council has reviewed the agreement and is ready for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the letter of agreement for recreation improvement funding for a Vista contract R-44989.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, and Director Schneider, I will be doing that DocuSign as we speak.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, motion approves. Next item, number 15. Board approval request, Kootenai reception proposal for HVAC, Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Klinkafis.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Lieutenant Klinkafus for the record for the Sheriff's Office. So this is one of the projects for the KCSO North project. There'll be 3 open spaces converted into office spaces in the front lobby area, and this HVAC proposal is to add heat and air conditioning to those 3 spaces. And it was included in the cost estimate previously approved in the expenditure request that was presented earlier and approved. It was one of those projects.
Okay. Any questions, comments, motion?
I move that we approve the reception proposal for the HVAC at Kootenai North.
Second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Item 16, board approval request. This is a request to purchase ballistic panels for KCSO North Lobby remodel with the Sheriff's Office and Lieutenant Klinkefus again.
Yes, sir. This request is to purchase ballistic panels to harden the lobby area of the new KCSO North lobby area of the facility. We have 3 quotes attached to this request, the lowest of which is $80,550 for 55 panels, and that's the one that we would ask we'd be comfortable with.
Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the
Hold on. Commissioner Duff.
Sorry, I just have a clarification. Even though we're going to go with the lowest bid here of $80,555, I think it should be up to $100,000 because of the installation. So there's going to be money expended by internal maintenance for that installation.
The commissioner is correct. On the original cost estimate that we presented was $100,000. That was just for materials. So she is correct. There could be other incidentals that may need to be purchased for installation of those panels. They are being installed by our own maintenance folks, but there may be other items that need to be purchased too. But
So we'll take a motion up to $100,000.
I move that we approve the request to purchase ballistic panels for KCSO North lobby remodel up to $100,000.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Okay, item number 17, board approval request, Kootenai County Sheriff Blazer, request for the third of 3 vehicles approved in the FY24 Capital Budget with the Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Klink.
yes, sir. I'm still here. So this is, like I said, the third of 3 that were approved in the fiscal year 24 budget for the capital expenses for detectives. And so we're requesting, we have located the vehicle. It is on site at the dealer and we're ready to purchase that vehicle. Dollar amount is $38,573.28.
Okay, questions? Motion?
I move we approve the purchase of the Blazer for KCSO in the amount of $38,573.28.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next up, item 18, board approval request, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, North Campus, female shower, locker room, and bathroom. And again, we have Lieutenant Klinkefus here.
Last one. Yes, sir. So this is a request to add, the current facility does not have a female bathroom, shower, and locker room facilities. There is a space perfectly suited for that, but it will need some remodel. So this request is a quote for $17,200 to install a female locker room, bathroom, and shower facilities.
Comments, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request by the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office for the North Campus female shower and locker room / bathroom in the amount of $17,200.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you, Lieutenant. Next up is item 19, grant award number 22, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, F as in Frank -02, Kootenai, Hazard Fuel Reduction, Post Falls, Idaho Department of Lands, $125,000 with an in-kind match from the City of Post Falls of $12,500. This is the Office of Emergency Management and Andrea Littlefield.
Yes, this is Andrea Littlefield for the record. This is for the grant award for the hazardous fuel reduction for the Post Falls Community Forest. This is with the Idaho Department of Lands for $125,000, and the in-kind match will come from the City of Post Falls in the amount of $12,500.
Okay, thank you. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the grant award 22 SSCF-02 for the hazard fuel reduction Post Falls with Idaho Department of Lands in the amount of $125,000 with in-kind match from City of Post Falls at $12,500.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you. Next up, item 20, consent to sublease AAL-2016-100 Craviotto to North Idaho Aircraft Refinishing with the Harry Craviotto Trust. And this is with the airport. Kim, are you on the line? Kim Stevenson?
I am, Commissioners. Thank you. Kim Stevenson for the record. One of our hangar owners, Harry Craviotto, would like to sublease his hangar to North Idaho Aircraft Refinishing. This would cancel any previous subleases that were on the hangar, and there is no impact to the lease or to the annual revenue.
Okay, thank you. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the consent to sublease AAL 2016-100 Craviotto to North Idaho Aircraft Refinishing between them and the Harry Craviotto Trust.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you. Next up is item 21, Panhandle Village Water System Improvement Project Phase 2 with the CDBG Grant Administration Contract Amendment, Panhandle Area Council, Inc., Resource Management Office, Dorian or Caitlin.
Yes, Commissioners, this is Doreen Combrick for the record. This contract amendment is in order to extend Panhandle Area Council's certified grant administration services for the remainder of the Panhandle Village Water System Phase 2 Improvements Project. The current contract between Kootenai County and Panhandle Area Council, PAC as they are known, expires on December 31st, 2023. So the amendment extends the contract by 12 months and it expires on December 31st, 2024. There is no additional cost associated with this amendment.
Thank you. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the Panhandle Village Water System Improvement Project Phase 2 CDBG Grant Administration Contract Amendment with Panhandle Area Council.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next up is item 22, board approval request. Justice Building Expansion, Switchgear Procurement Authorization with Resource Management Office and Dorian or Caitlin. And we have someone different.
I'm not Dorian or Caitlin. I'm John Staub with Boughton Construction for the record. This is just a request for the expansion project. We're currently in the process of bidding out the switchgear, but have identified it as a critical path procurement item. And we're requesting board approval to commit funds to order this switchgear by January 5th of 2024, which is ahead of the anticipated execution of Work Pack 3 GMP amendment on January 16th. And what this basically allows us to do is release that switchgear, and the only financial commitment being made is in the event of the project being fully canceled or the switchgear going away or some kind of very unlikely adverse event. We would be on the hook to pay for 60% of the switchgear value, which we estimate as a maximum of $250,000. So it's $400,000 is the anticipated switchgear value, and it would be 60% of that amount, which would be the $250,000 that we're requesting authorization for.
Questions? Is this?
Yes, John?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead first.
This is, you just want to get approval to for the funds to be available.
Correct. Yeah, not like a check needs to be immediately available when we do that. There's no cost until the switchgear is received, at which time that would be payable, if that makes sense.
And you expect that to be the first week of next month?
That we would be placing the order on January 5th. No, nothing would be payable at that time.
Okay.
This is just saying once we release that order, the county is then on the hook if the project were to be canceled for any reason. We would be committing to that amount and it would then be payable at a later date.
But we are authorizing them to go ahead and
Correct.
and order that.
Correct.
Okay, and was this something that we have already in the, what I will refer to as the preliminary budget
Yeah,
for this building, which I believe is, the last number was 39.8 million, even though,
correct.
okay, so that's
Yeah,
already
this is
in
our-
that,
Yep, excuse me. I didn't mean to
okay,
interrupt.
so that's already in that document.
Correct.
Commissioner Duncan, did you have some questions?
No, they've been answered.
And we obviously need to get this right. There's no way around this, right?
Correct. Yeah, and this is in no way increasing the construction cost estimate or anything like that. This is just acknowledging an early release item.
Okay, well, thank you. If no one has any questions, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the budget request for the Justice Building expansion, switchgear procurement authorization in the amount of $250,000.
I second it, but that's not the amount we're approving. We're just approving the fact that they can order it now because it's not going to be here until Q1 of 2025. So it's just a pre-order.
Okay.
2025 or 24?
2025 is the delivery date, at which time the material will be payable. The
Got it.
release is being made January 5th of 2024.
Okay. Did you want to amend that motion, Commissioner Duncan? Just,
Yeah, it was just a clarification that it's not an authorization for $250,000. It's just an authorization to pre-order, understanding that if everything were to be canceled, because otherwise it's a $400,000 piece. So, yeah, I second the motion to allow the procurement authorization.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Item 23 has been pulled. Next is item 24, financial budget JDC flooring, building and grounds action, Kellen Huffman.
Hi, Commissioner Gary Hayes for the record. And yeah, we're looking to get this right at JDC, the flooring. We're looking to have approval on the replacement on the JDC flooring that was approved last year for the current budget. After more research and discussion with Great Floors, we found a better option in the product we are going to use. The original bid was for the VCT flooring at a cost of $10,414.80. The new bid is for LVT at a cost of $14,840. The main reason for this change is due to the maintenance required with VCT, that being a 24/7 facility does not allow. The LVT has no additional maintenance requirements other than regular cleaning. We've spoken with Brandy and Arrow, and we'll be able to absorb the price difference between these bids in our bid budget.
Okay. Any questions? I have one.
Gary?
Go ahead.
go ahead first.
No, you can go ahead. I went first last time.
Sure. Just a question on the extended price. I understand that it's a maintenance issue, but will it also last longer?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, this comes with a 20-year warranty with that, but yeah, everything is better all around with this product. Maintenance.
Yeah, the VCT has to be waxed yearly, a couple times a year. That'll go away. So in the long run, it'll pay for itself.
Okay. That was my question.
Thank you.
So I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the JDC flooring as presented with Building and Grounds.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
I abstain.
Chair Pro Tem Chair Pro Tem Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next up, item 25, Advisory Board appointment. Jerry Blakely to the Snowmobile Advisory Board, term expiring 12/31/26. Jonathan.
Commissioner, the BOCC interviewed him the first week of December, and he's there for your consideration to be appointed.
Yeah, and this was something that we discussed, I believe, and had agreed, since that was an alternative. Does anyone have any questions, or you want to take a motion?
I move that we approve the advisory board appointment of Jerry Blakely to the Snowmobile Advisory Board, term expiring 12/31/26.
Second.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next up is item 26, Board Approval Request, KC North Funding and IT Security Costs, and this is an action item. Randy Falcon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brandy Falcon for the record. So I was approached by the Sheriff's Office to discuss kind of how we're handling all the invoices for KC North. Right now, Lieutenant Klinkefis is coming forward every single time they need money for something, which obviously you have to do if it's over $10,000, but they were wondering if the board would consider just moving the entire amount of the fund balance you've assigned for that project into their budget so they can expend it as they go without having to come to a meeting every single week, but they would still come to receive approval for items over $10,000. Does that make sense? So you had initially designated $950,000 for that project. Right now, after the items you approved today, they have a little over $650,000 left. So they would be asking to have that entire amount moved into their budget, kind of to ease the administrative burden of having to come forward and ask for fund balance every single time they want to purchase something. And so I said that was a board decision to make.
Any questions, thoughts?
Well, we have to do the IT security cost, so that's a separate issue.
Correct.
The
IT
agenda
portion
item.
was, Grant had asked if the IT costs for the new facility or moving to the new facility come from the IT assigned fund balance. And he can speak to kind of some of what those quotes are, but in order to preserve as much of the budget for the sheriff's office as possible, for the IT items to come from IT's assigned fund balance.
Grant Kinsey for the record. Yes, Commissioners, we have about $500,000 in IT fund balance set aside for projects that come up outside of scope of budget like this. This year, our entire budget, all of our asks were approved out of property tax, so that fund balance remains intact. And we just thought it might work. It might help to alleviate costs coming out of unknown fund balances. I'm not using the right terms, I apologize, Brandy. But we do know, what our fund balance is. These are definitely IT projects, so we were hopeful that the board would see fit that we could just take the costs of these IT projects out of the IT fund balance instead of trying to mix it with wherever funding is coming for the rest of this. And just to give you an idea of where we're at, we originally looked at around $40,000 to $50,000 for the network operations up there, but we've also discovered that the door access control system is completely inadequate. It's not usable, so that's another $40,000 to $50,000. And now cameras are being needed as well, and that's probably $30,000 to $50,000. So if we were going to put a number on it today, I would ask the board give IT direction to use, but probably not to exceed $150,000 out of IT fund balance for this project.
Comments, questions?
Yeah, I'm good with that. The updated information we got today, I kind of wanted to see the overall project progression before we just say, here's your blank check. And most of the stuff is over $10,000 anyway, so they're already coming before us. And that's why I made that a point to increase that amount from $80,000 to $100,000 for the ballistic thing. So I'm fine with the IT, and I probably would just want to wait to to make that whole switch until we have the updated numbers that have what was projected, what's already been spent.
Commissioner Brooks?
Randy, what do you recommend?
Either way, it's the same amount of work for me, so it's really up to the board.
Okay.
It's just more or less work for the sheriff's office is what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess the question is, what kind of controls are in place by requiring the sheriff's office to come before us that wouldn't already be in place if we had allowed the funds to just be allocated to their budget? Because if we're not actually solving anything by requiring them to come before us every time, then I'm not quite sure that it makes sense to just get people to do more work if we can have them do less work. Is there anything you
I
can?
think the theory is that if you hold back the money and make them come forward every time, then you're seeing every single expenditure made. That already policy requires anything over 10,000 to come before you. So really, it would just be anything that's under 10,000 what additionally right now has to come before you because they need approval for money at every single step of the way. Does that make sense? So I would say it's probably, and I'm not on the project management of that project at all. I don't know if there are items under 10,000. The theory is that the items under 10,000 right now, they wouldn't have to bring before you if they occurred. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And if you're going to order small little items, it's just as much effort as items over 10,000, I would assume in this situation, correct?
I would assume. If anyone from the sheriff's office is here, they could probably speak to that, but I would think so.
Bridget Gerns for the sheriff's office.
Go ahead, Bridget.
So I do the accounting for the sheriff's office, and so just speaking to this, part of the concern was we have invoices coming in for examples, Miller Paint, plumbing, Gibbs lumber, just different construction things that are well under even $200 a piece. So this is where we were speaking about having a project code that I could specifically code under to keep better track of the monies for this Kootenai North project.
So that's money that's already been spent that you haven't come before the board to request it to be spent anyway.
Correct, but that was the concern was I was getting these invoices, but then I was under the assumption that we need to go before the board for anything that is purchased for the Kootenai North project, regardless if it's over, if it's under 10,000 or not.
Right, because there's no funding in place. We've only approved funding for very specific things like Corey Trapp's contract, the roll-up doors, the security fence. You see what I'm saying? So when those small things come in, they could pay those invoices, but technically you have not approved funding in place for those items. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the question is, can we count on the sheriff's office to spend the taxpayer money wisely? Or do we have to watch over every penny?
If I may, Lieutenant Klinkafus for the record, at the end of the day, the accounting will always be there. We're not going to hide anything. Everything will be out in front. And some of those purchases have been maintenance going in to fix holes in walls and patch things and do some basic maintenance. And at the end of the day, if you'd like us to come forward for a $50 purchase at Miller Paint, so be it. We will do whatever the board directs, but we would like to not have to do that at this point, and we will protect taxpayer dollars and do the best we can to be efficient.
Yeah. I know I personally would not.
Nobody's suggesting that.
Well,
Yeah, nobody's suggesting that at all. There's 3 items. The additional workstations, enclose the lobby, and install hardware, armory. Those are the 3 projects identified that are under $10,000. So, yeah, I think identifying that funding source so those can happen, it would be prudent.
I don't have a problem with running this like how we normally do with $10,000 or greater requests. I really don't want to hold people up for the smaller items, as long as there is a way to account for them and they can be audited at a later date. It exists, so I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so you're saying you'd be okay if we go ahead and move the remaining 650,000 into their budget? That way they have access to funds for those smaller items that come up, and if they need to expend more than 10,000 at a time, they come to you for approval.
Absolutely, and I think that the other thing is that the money should be allocated to the accounts to the degree that it can, so we can make sure that they're within their projections. Any other questions, comments? Grant?
Sir, I was just wanting to clarify for the finance director, can we do the same thing with the IT fund balance for the IT section of this project as well then?
Yes, so we're gonna create, KC North already has its own budget code in Fund 11, so that's already taken care of. And then the IT portion, we will create a new project in IT's budget for that.
Thank you.
Motion?
I move that we approve the request for KC North funding and IT security costs.
In the amount of $650,000 to KC North and $150,000 for IT security costs.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next item is 27, Board Approval Request, KC North Utilities, Auditor Brandy Falcon again.
Me again, all right, so this has to do with the utility accounts that the sheriff currently pays right now at their campus. Now they're taking on all of the KC North utility accounts and bills as of this month, and so now we need to determine all of the remaining utilities at their current campus, who is gonna pay for those when the sheriff's office vacates and moves. So I prepared a spreadsheet for you guys. I believe you have the same one that I had submitted last time. So I wanted board direction on how to handle that because there is a budgetary impact for several different departments. So the Pierce Clegg building, after the sheriff's office vacates, only the coroner will be in that building. So would it be okay if the coroner would then take on all of the utility accounts for the Pierce Clegg building? That's one of, so I just, for the sake of the departments involved, we do need to get some clarity on who is taking over what utility accounts. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so for example, the Pierce Clegg building is the first one on the list. Right now, it's paid 20% from the coroner's office, about 80% from the sheriff's office. So could we, after the sheriff leaves, move that utility account 100% to the coroner's budget? Or do you feel like you want the coroner here? I was told to come before the board and get board direction, and so here I am.
Well, we could do this, I guess, a couple different ways. We could go line by line, or we could look at what you provided and conceptually agree with what you're suggesting.
Yeah, because there's multiple accounts for different buildings, so like Pierce Clegg has 5 different accounts. So if we could just say all of the Pierce Clegg goes to the coroner when the sheriff leaves, if you guys agree with that, that would take care of half this list right here. The sheriff's office said that they could keep the utilities for the Compton building because that's where the sheriff's IT support is at. And then the marine shop area, that's gonna be empty. The sheriff could continue paying that until another department potentially moved in and used that. I know Transit expressed some interest. Oh, they told me they were emptying it out completely. Bridget told me it was gonna be totally empty, so.
She may have been referring to the big storage building over by Pierce Clegg. It may have been the MCC building she was referring to, but the current space where the shop is and the rec safety section, Tom Reed's folks will be occupying that space.
So Bridget, the shop / marine account, is that what Klinkefis is talking about?
It must be Bridget Gurns for the record. Yes. So I was told not too long ago that that was going to be vacated as well, and that Transit would, and again, the rumor of Transit possibly moving in there. So that's what prompted me putting that onto the spreadsheet.
But you're saying it won't be emptied?
the MCC building, that big large storage shed out there by the Pierce Clegg building we won't be occupying it. I'm not sure who's going to occupy it.
The
I know the
MCC
corner,
building will
yes,
be empty, but the
yes.
marine shop
But the
area
marine
will be
shop
full.
area will not be.
Okay.
That will remain under Tom Reed's section, KCSO maintenance.
Okay, so there we go.
Okay, so, but Lieutenant Klinkerfuss, with that being said, we will still need to move Marine's budget out of that then, and the shops, and replace that with maintenance budget, correct?
Yes, exactly right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the marine shop would stay with the sheriff. Like I already said, the Compton building would stay with the sheriff. The MCC building will be emptied out, and right now, we don't know who's taking that over. The coroner has discussed taking that over potentially. So we could either give that to the coroner or keep it with the sheriff for now. And then there's a street light on the fairgrounds that the sheriff pays for. So when the sheriff leaves, I would suggest that probably the BOCC take over the utility bill for that street light. That's the last one.
Commissioner Duncan, do you have any comments, thoughts, questions?
Well, I understand dealing with the utilities out at KC North today, but there's just a lot of moving parts that the Board of Commissioners has not approved any moves as far as once the sheriff's locations are empty. So to me, might change 13 different times. So I appreciate the proactiveness, but until the sheriff has a move out date or move in date, however you want to say it, we don't really know what the next steps are. So for me, it's just address that we're going to make their budget whole when they pay KC North utilities because they didn't budget for that. So we need to make sure that, that we factor that in and increase that line item.
So you would like all of the utilities to just stay with the sheriff's office for now?
Until we have actual tenants going to take over those locations.
Okay. Yeah, so they'll be, just to clarify, they'll be paying double for the time being, but we won't hold that against them, I guess, during FY24 in their budget.
Can we get that in writing?
Yeah.
Well, you got it on the record. So,
Okay.
does that work for you
Sure,
for
we'll
the
just do
time
that.
being? So we'll allocate the utilities to the sheriff's office budget at KC North, but we will incorporate those expenses into their budget so that it doesn't run over.
Sure, that'll work.
Okay. Motion?
I move that we approve the KC North utilities to come out of the sheriff's budget with the understanding that the budget will be increased to cover it.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next up is item 28, board approval request, Justice Building Cold Fluid Applied Thickness Test. This is a contract. We have David Mendez here.
David Mendez, Turner and Townsend Erie. So the issue with cold fluid applied testing is that it is in the specifications for the contract to be a required test that is arranged for by the contractor. In our contract for work packages 1 and 2, the contractor, we all agreed that the contractor was to exclude special inspections and testing. So this is something that is not in the current contract with our special inspectors. They are not qualified or certified, not qualified. They are not certified to do that test. So the contract in front of you is to contract with a testing agency to come and test that once it's applied.
Okay, and do we have a final amount on that?
We have an estimated amount. They will be billing on an as-needed basis. They're not in control of the work, so it's difficult to give them a not-to-exceed price. The estimate is $4,100 and change.
Okay.
There was a second contract that was for $5,100. That was by mistake. That was an earlier discussion about the number of trips that would be required to do this testing. So the correct amount is the 4,100.
Okay. Questions?
I didn't get that email.
All right. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request for Justice Building Cold Fusion Applied Thickness Tests in the amount of $4,100.
I would say not to exceed $4,400, and I'll second that.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next up is item 29, Resolution 2023-87, Surplus Vehicle Community Development. Chris Garland.
Actually, Reba Gritness for the record. We're just asking for permission to surplus this 2009 Ford Crown Victoria. We no longer can use it, and with speaking with fleet management, they can't use it either.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2023-87 to surplus the vehicle and community development.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, item 30, Resolution 2023-90, FY23 and Unanticipated Revenue Resolution. Auditor, Brandy Falcon.
Brandy Falcon for the record. This is a resolution that our office does annually in the winter as we're closing out the prior fiscal year's books, and it's to memorialize all of the budget amendments that were made for additional revenues received during the year.
Questions?
We have a lot of unanticipated revenue.
So all of our grants are done as budget amendments, so that's a significant amount of money. And then all of the people that come forward throughout the year to request to use fund balance, those are all adjustments, the capital carry forward. So we do have a pretty decent amount.
Okay, good. Thank you. I move that we approve Resolution 2023-90 for FY23 unanticipated revenue resolution for the auditor's office.
Second.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next up, item 31, Resolution 2023-96, Assessor hiring counsel with the BOCC. This is something that I have worked with the assessor on, and at this point, this is the resolution that's referenced in the agreement with outside counsel. Along with that, there was a memorandum that was sent with further details, and the two work together. And so unless anyone has any questions or comments, I'll take a motion. Mr. Assessor. I sent you the memorandum prior, after our discussion. Had the budgeted dollar amounts in it. Yes. Yes. So I'll take a motion.
I move
we approve Resolution 2023-96, the assessor hiring outside counsel.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
No.
Chair Pro Tem Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next up, item 32, status update pending, and this is a discussion item. And the first item is, I guess, we will start with facilities expansion. David?
Yes, yep, David, thank you.
Go ahead, please.
David Mendez with Turner Townsend and Hearing. Just clarification, you're asking for the update on status update, right?
Yes.
Okay. Quickly, bid package 3, addendum 3 was sent out earlier in the week, and the bid opening remains Thursday, December 21st at 2 o'clock. That's unchanged. We've also received pay request number 3 for work package 2, so that you should see that for $459,950, although it is being reviewed currently. We received notification earlier in the week that special inspections was exceeding their budgeted hours. They were requesting that we review the special inspections. Staff and I have both talked to All West. There was a mistake in there. They are currently, thank you for that interlude. They are currently within their budget, and they're not requesting an extension. And I've made arrangements for them to be in contact with me directly if they do see that change coming. And I will be coordinating with the contractor. They're the ones that call them out for these inspections to make sure that they're done efficiently. We have VE items that we talked about last meeting. Those are currently being responded to and checked off by the contractor. They're going to give whether the items have been considered previously and rejected for some reason, or they've been incorporated into this work package 3 document. And if neither of those conditions, then we will start the conversation about how we incorporate those and what the estimated dollar amounts, and I'll bring that back to the commissioners for approval. There was an item for whether they should include fall restraint anchors for the top of the building, and it has been kicked around to, I asked Greg Manley with the County Buildings and Grounds whether they would need that in the normal maintenance of the building. He doesn't believe so. There's some question about the south side of the building and the amount of clearance with the fueling station that's there, that they would have enough room to be able to get their lifts in to wash windows and clean the building. So that would be the only exception currently. So we are not looking at fall restraints for the top of the building. We talked about added special inspections. Just clarification that that price that they had given me was $4,192.50. I said $4,100 and change. That's a little more than I had said. Another issue that has been brought up and is currently under discussion, and I do not have a recommendation from any of the consultants, is a BDA ERRCS system. So that's a cell repeater that is currently in this building. It repeats cell reception so that you have reception everywhere inside the building. There's a discussion going on whether a system will be required in the new building. Yes, it is likely required. The contractor is currently carrying $120,000 in our budgeting for work package 3. In the event that that is necessary, we won't know until the building is built and they do testing to see if we have cell service throughout the building. But just keep in mind that's not likely that that will occur. So we won't know that. There's an issue with putting a separate system in this new building. It will conflict with, it likely will conflict with the system that you're currently running, so they can't run two of them at the same time, so they will have to be joined. There's discussion whether this current system that you have going is acceptable to expand into the next building, or if it is old and needs to be replaced. So that is part of the discussion as well. So we'll be looking to, once we get that recommendation, we'll be coming forward to you with a request, one way or the other.
Could I just ask, so this is something that is in the construction manager's contingency budget?
It is.
Cell service repeater.
It is.
And so for the new building, that money would be allocated for that system. However, if that system cannot work with the existing system over here, then we would have to come up with additional funds to upgrade the system here, but we could still use those contingency funds for the new building with the construction manager.
Yes, and I don't have a number, a firm number, but they have, the contractor has been talking with people that supply this. Actually, their questions came up during, when the bid documents came out for work package 3. They've been talking with contractors to make sure that their numbers are correct. And so the 120,000 is for adding a repeater station to the new building. They're indicating possibly 250,000 if we had to replace both systems. And it would probably be something less if they could tag onto the existing system with the new building. So there's some variables there that we're talking about.
And we just don't know yet.
We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll add that these systems have been added along the way. So none of the buildings came with them. It's just when we discovered a problem, we added one for the old courthouse, one for the Justice Center. So these things were added way years after the fact when the technology was experiencing problems.
Is there anything else that you want to add to the facilities expansion, Commissioner Duncan?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay. Next
Oh,
up,
I guess,
go ahead.
sorry, I do have one more thing. Can we have a chain of command laid out? Because the fluid testing, it seemed like it was a little bit chaotic. And for our department heads, when some emergency comes up, they have authorization to take care of the emergency and then come ratify it before the board. So is this something that we can also apply in this situation? So that way, like David knew, okay, it's $7,500, I think was the first estimate. That to me is not worth delaying the project. So I think that he could have made that decision and then, emailed the board. I was in on that conversation, but I was, not supposed to be available on Friday. So if that's something that the board would agree to, that he would have that autonomy to authorize that, or the project liaison or something, so we don't have a repeat of what happened Friday.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And the question is the dollar amount that makes sense. Obviously within the county, we have the $10,000 limit, but we're talking about a $40+ million building. So I would assume you're going to have maybe some situations that might exceed 10,000.
In past contracts, I've been given authorization for $10,000, $15,000, and $25,000 limits. Project of this size, I think that's probably an appropriate scale.
So which number would that be?
I would say probably the 25,000 is probably a reasonable scale.
The only thing that I would ask, assuming that the other commissioners were in agreement, was that as soon as you have such an expense, that you notify the board immediately, within an hour or two. So that way we're aware of it, and if there is an issue, someone can, at least raise that with you. Commissioner Duncan, your thoughts?
Yes, and that's kind of what happened on Friday. Is it was sent out to everybody, hey, we need this test, and then so I already knew that it was coming forward. So yeah, as long as that chain is kept where the board's notified, hey, we have this, $15,000 issue or $20,000 issue that cannot wait until a regular business day or meeting, then yeah, I'm comfortable with that, especially because everybody's going to be on board, not just Mr. Mendez, but the architect plus the construction company.
Okay, so then we'll take action on this on a future meeting quickly, so that we can give you a dollar amount so you can make these decisions.
Okay, I think that's workable.
Okay.
We can probably do it on HR on Thursday.
Well, HR was canceled, so we have to kind of revisit that one.
I thought it was already on your Justice Center expansion agenda.
But we have a Justice Center expansion meeting at 2.
It's the first agenda item on that meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think you're covered.
Yep, we're covered.
Great.
Okay, so next up is impact fees, and that's with County Counsel right now. So the last update was that I spoke with our counsel, and they saw the concerns of the Rathdrum's city attorney, and so that's where that is. Any questions? No? Jail pods?
Yes, it's gone through legal, and we're just waiting to hear when it's going to be published.
Okay, so it has gone through legal, all right. And then the next item is the ARPA projects.
Good afternoon, Caitlin Smith for the record. Mr. Mendez has spoken to the Justice Building. It's on time, and we are working on reconciling and fully reviewing the budget. For the other projects, the JDC HVAC upgrade is officially closed out on time and on schedule. The final payment has been reconciled. The remaining projects are tracking to complete on time and on budget. Those projects are the admin HVAC, the jail generator, the sub-award for Wellspring Meadows, and the sub-award for Children's Village, which we discussed earlier today.
And JDC HVAC came in under budget.
It came in exactly on budget for the ARPA funds that were allocated to it and the tobacco funds that were allocated to it.
Okay, thank you. Last up is PMR. Commissioner Duncan.
Is Sylvia in the audience?
She is not.
Okay, it's with legal,
Okay,
so we're just waiting. I'm hoping to get it on Tuesday's business meeting.
okay. All righty, that concludes the business items. Next up is public comment. Would anyone like to speak?
I have one. I would really like it if someone, and I don't care who it is, but could give us week by week a total cost on this Justice Building. Where we stand, best guess. Now, you don't need to do it this week, but I'd like to hear it every week.
Do you want expenses that have been ran through the system?
Well, I want to know what it's going to cost in the final analysis. And if people say, we don't know, then I would like to hear, we don't know.
Yeah. And I understand. I think one of the things that we really need to do is have a budget that has been reviewed and kind of sanctioned by our buyer's representative, David. You obviously have numbers that have been put together, but I think there are some additional numbers that needed to be added to that that just have not been taken into consideration. And obviously, the further away we are from the completion of the project, the bigger the target as far as the range of where it should come in. But I think with David's help, we could get a fairly decent target, and then it's up to all people involved to figure out how we can come in below that target, below that bogey, if you will. But I think the problem is that as we've kind of muddled our way through this process, there are expenses that people just don't know. And that's part of the reason we have Mr. Mendez here, is because he is the resident expert on these kinds of things. And so he can make sure that we're not overlooking things that are expenses, and we can get a final number and hopefully come in and work our way under that and save taxpayers money. So I think that's where we really need to start.
Yeah, well, I like between Brandy and, go ahead.
And then we can include the expenses as we incur them.
It just seems to be growing.
So what I would say about that is, right now, we currently don't have a guaranteed maximum price from the contractor. As work package 3 comes in, we will have that number.
Mm-hmm.
We will still have, they've got numbers that they've allocated, so those numbers are in our budgets. Some of the soft costs we've talked about, we have budgeted amounts for those. Until we start to push up or see that those are not good numbers, then as we see those, that was my intent for this reporting that I'm currently doing, is to say, look, we've exceeded what we allocated for that particular item. As far as an overall number. I'm not sure how that would look at this point, but we can kick that around more and be able to satisfy what you're looking for.
I just think the people of Kootenai County have a right to know what we're spending here.
Certainly.
So,
Yeah, I think with basically a good estimate of an end game, then we can start including those expenses and see how we're coming in on that. But I think the hard part is we haven't had good estimates on we don't have a budget. We don't know what this thing is really going to come in at. And so we have to get that target, I think, identified first. Anybody else have comment? Anyone on the phone? Jonathan? No? Okay, well, it's 3:10. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
thank you, guys.